really soon.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 187, entitled Link Invades Mario Maker. And my name is Steve, but I am joined, as always, by Barry. Hey, Barry. How's it going?
Hey guys, it's always a pleasure to be here.
And also joined by Greg. Hey, Greg.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be talking all about this Link coming in and invading Mario Maker and what that's all about. And this was a recent update, but we're also going to be talking about some GameStop rumors, some things that have been going on recently with kind of follow up from last episode. We're going to be talking about our Game Awards predictions. We're going to be talking about Black Friday stuff and our gaming hauls and Fire Emblem Heroes speculation, a little bit about PlayStation, because they've been kind of honored recently. Sony's been honored with a cool award recently. But before we get into all of that, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. But as you guys kind of go back in your mind and remember what you've been playing over the last couple of weeks, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and also remind you to hit that subscription button on whatever you watch us or listen to us on. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell as well. But if you're listening after the fact on your favorite podcast app, just hit that subscription button. That way you can have it every time we just post, and you don't have to worry about going and tracking us down or anything like that. And if you would, please kind of leave us a positive comment, review, anything like that, and that just kind of helps us be found by other people looking for Nintendo content. But yeah, if you're joining us live, we have a chat room going live during the live shows, and we encourage you guys to throw in your thoughts about any of the things that we discuss. We'll refer to the chat room throughout the night. But yeah, we'd love to have you join us. If you've never joined us for a live recording of the NintendoFuse podcast, we would love to have you there. So make sure you do try to do that. We pretty much an every other Tuesday kind of schedule. So we'd love to have you there. But yeah, and all that out of the way, enough of that. Let's talk about what we've been playing. So let's go to you first, Barry.
What have I been playing? I've been playing quite a bit, but not as much as I'd like to be playing because of the holidays. So I've had family over. So the main thing that I was playing was finishing Pokemon. So I finished Pokemon Shield and had a lot of fun with it, and I really enjoyed my time. And I didn't catch them all. I got a lot of them. I got in the 200 out of 400. I could continue. It has a little wonky online stuff for me, but I can continue, and maybe when my wife catches up, I'll go back to it, or if people want to do things. But right now, I've just been focusing on other games, one of which has been the game Downwell, which I will be talking about on the next Switch Mania Playcast. This was a game I wasn't planning on playing, and Jeffrey, who's been so nice to keep me around, is like, oh yeah, we're gonna do Downwell, play it. I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta play it. So I played a little of that, which is it's a fun little arcade game. I'll just say that for now. But my meat and potatoes, I've really been sinking my time into AI, which is a game from the Zero Escape creator, and I love Zero Escape. And so far, I'm really having fun with it. I think this is there's a lot to this. It's like it's almost a little bit of LA Noire in terms of like there's a cop. You're a cop and there's a murder mystery you got to deal with, but you also go into people's dreams and psyche, and it's kind of freaky, and you got like mental locks you have to get through, but you only have 6 minutes to do it, so every action you do actually takes time. So like if you see a book, you can choose to like read it or rip it up, but like read it may take 20 seconds of your time, and ripping it up may take 10 seconds of your time. So you have to decide, and there may not be a point to reading the book at all. It just could be just flavor text, so you have to decide how you spend your time. Really interesting concept, and it has a flowchart system like the Zero Escape, so you can go back and forth as you choose, because it's like a choose-your-own-adventure style book. The other thing I've been playing a little bit is the game Street Outlaws, which is a game I absolutely would not be playing. I got it for the collection, but my father-in-law is a very big Street Outlaws fan. So when, of course, this came out, I showed my wife, and she was like, oh, this would be a great bonding experience for the two of you. And I'm like, okay, which translates to him sitting there and him watching me play because he doesn't do games. And it's not a very good game. In fact, my wife was laughing at how bad I was doing at it, so I handed her the controller. I said, do better, and she was doing equally as bad because the controls aren't very good. But yeah, so that's really about it in terms of the Switch, of course. I'm still playing Final Fantasy XIV on the PC, still doing Dragalia Lost on the phone. In fact, there's a Mega Man event going on right now, so the fact that I can have Mega Man and Marth in my team is pretty ridiculous. It is almost like Smash Brothers and Dragalia Lost, which is kind of cool. And I'm still casually doing Pokemon Go. By casually, literally the bare minimum every day. And like yesterday, we had snow here, and I did not get a spin or a Pokestop or anything like that. I'm like, I'm not going out in the snow. I'll deal with it. I don't care. It's just not a priority anymore. But yeah, that's mainly what I've been doing.
Nice. Barry or Greg, sorry. How about you?
I don't have quite as long of a list as Barry's got there. That's for sure. Well, I'll go through the normal stuff. Fire Emblem Heroes, playing that every day still. We got a little bit to talk about that I'm least excited. I know neither of you probably really care much about that, but anyways, moving on. Still playing Dr. Mario World as well. Completed like the they're doing clinic events and stuff where you help out certain characters, and I've already completed all 3 seasons of it so far to date. Then finally over on Switch, I just picked up that Untitled Goose Game because I was kind of intrigued by its nomination for, I think it was like Indie Game of the Year or something like that, or I don't forget the exact nomination, but it had me very intrigued, and I watched some gameplay videos, and it looked like it would be kind of interesting style puzzle game, and I really like puzzle games, so I did end up purchasing it, and then I got maybe about an hour into it and just having a blast so far. It's pretty fun controlling a little goose and annoying this little farmer guy, and you can like raise your wings at him and like honk at him and try to move all of his stuff all over the place, and then he has to like tries to move it back to where it goes, and it's really kind of cool like the way that they've done that. So naturally he moves faster than you, so if he catches you, you just auto drop the thing that you're moving, and then he just like kind of picks it up. So there's not really any like hit points or like lives or dying. It's you just kind of like forcibly give up the thing that you're doing, and then he just tries to reset it for you. Like he'll put it back to where it goes and whatnot. So there's like a bunch of objectives, so you have to like get them like wet, or you have to like have a picnic by the river by stealing like a pumpkin and a carrot and his thermos cup with his coffee in it, and like a beach basket. So it's been a lot of fun so far, and hopefully we'll be playing a lot more of it in the coming weeks.
Nice. I'm not a big fan of PewDiePie, but his playthrough of Untitled Goose Game is hilarious. Like, it made me laugh so much because the game's goofy and he's goofy, and it's really funny. But yeah.
Yeah, if you had watched our game chat on like the West of Loathing, it's kind of along that kind of humor style. Like it's just kind of like just really complete silly, and like it's just meant to have a lot of fun. It's not like super serious, and so obviously that game is much different. That's like an RPG, and it was like with like stick figures and had all sorts of different other stuff with that. But just trying to say it's kind of fun and a little bit more like different than your average game.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Barry, are you saying that is our video live? Are people seeing it?
The first link that you put out there with the reminder where it never loaded for me, so I checked our actual YouTube page, and it shows 2 versions of it. It shows the one starting and the live stream. You made a live stream. It's like a separate.
Oh, is that what we're doing right now? I think apparently. I may have hit the wrong button. So
I think you did.
At least it's live, and we can take care of that later, I guess. So
it's like Roth jumped in.
Roth is in there. He says boop, so people are finding it, I guess. So that's unfortunate. We won't restart or anything like that, but so we'll get it up there, and people People will eventually find it.
Yeah.
So so I've been playing several different games. One of the games I played, I did write a review about it, called One Person Story. And it's been out for, I think, a year or so, but it just got ported over to Switch not too long ago. And it's really like a puzzle game, but it's written about... It takes you on this journey through someone who's dealing with life, and there's like this deep story to it that just narrates as you go through, and as you progress through each stage. So each stage is one screen, and you get from this little ball, this bouncing ball, from the bottom of the screen to the top screen, and then you keep on moving up, and each stage has elements that tie into the story, and it's about going through life, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes you have to lean on your friends, and sometimes you have choices to make, and you even get to a certain point in it where the main character is not doing well mentally, and you have to make a decision whether to jump or not to jump. And so it's a deep storyline that's basically just this puzzle game, and you have to think on your feet and be quick with how you move things around. But it's quite the game, and it's really, really cheap. So I highly recommend getting that. I've also been playing Bee Simulator, and I got that for review as well. And I got about, I don't know, a couple hours into it, and hit 2 points. One point that I got to a part in the game where I needed to be like exact before I could progress. And I couldn't do it. Inside, my skill was just not at the right place. And also, not only was my skill not at the right place it needed to be at that time, but I was also about ready to throw up as I was playing it. The motion sickness had fully kicked in, and I had a headache. I was sweating, and I was like, if I even try this level one more time, I'm going to hurl all over my desk. This is awful. So I had to give it up. So I'll be writing a review of it soon. They've actually been emailing me saying, "Hey, when's your coverage coming through?" And it's one of those emails that you as even an amateur video game journalist, and you go, you know what? You don't want to hear what I have to say about your game. You really don't, because it wasn't good. The graphics are not that great. You basically have this like static bee in the middle of your screen, and then you move everything around it, so it stays in the middle, and it's just not good. Other than that,
is I should keep my copy sealed.
Yes, you should definitely keep knowing you and your vertigo and everything else, definitely keep that copy sealed and put it away. Yeah. And it's not really a simulator either. Like, that's the weird thing. Like, it's not like the goat simulators and different things, or even like the other ones that are a little more realistic simulator. It's like you run into things. You don't even, like, you go underwater and it doesn't bother you, and you fly in some guy's face, and it's like, they don't even, and then you can sting them, and they're just like, I'm like, if I got stung by a bee 20 times in the face, I'd be doing more than just meh.
Well, you would die too. Like when a bee stings somebody, they're
dead. Exactly. So I was actually surprised that when I flew around some of the balloons, that I actually could pop them. I was like, if the people aren't reacting to me stinging them, am I actually going to be able to pop these balloons? And I could. So that was surprising. But yeah, it's not been good. Also played, of course, Rocket League. Finished up Rocket Pass 5, I think. We're going into 6 really soon. Did all that stuff and everything. And I also I opened up Mario Kart Tour again the other day. And I was like, you know what? I haven't played this in a while. I'm gonna see. And the Christmas winter themed kind of stuff like drew me back in. I was like, that'd be cool if I could pick up one of the Mario with the hats or whatever or something like that. I thought it'd be cool, kind of cool, and I haven't got him, but I did play around with the first couple levels and everything, and then realized quickly that I still don't like it. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that they had updated the controls a little bit. So now you can do drift, but they also have a button at the bottom where you can turn, which is nice. So that's kind of the best of both worlds. But I also don't like going back and forth between the two. And often when I tried to turn, I ended up missing a drift, and it just it's the controls are awful.
The controls aren't the best.
Yeah.
Although I'll tell you right now, if you do the tour, it's kind of funny because they only really added one new track, which is the DK Mountain Pass, I think, from 3DS. But all the other tracks in the game, to make them Christmas themed, they added a Christmas tree. And every single track has a Christmas tree in it.
Nice.
And it's funny. It's almost like, where did they throw it in? And like one, it's like underwater and stuff like that. It's worth playing through the tracks just to spot the Christmas tree.
They're like Easter egg Christmas trees.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's like, here we go, Kalahari Desert, Christmas themed. Yeah.
That's funny. Oh well. Also, I just wanted to draw attention. I forgot to mention this at our last on our last podcast that I did. I got an early. Not a copy, but an early product from Fixture. They have the S1, and this is a basically if you like playing your Switch portably and you want to play with your Pro controller, you can actually like snap this on your Pro controller and then put your Switch like on the top. It has rails that it slides in. I'm not a huge fan of it, but if you want to do that, I'll have a full review of it eventually. But yeah, it's well made. It might actually still be in Kickstarter. I'm not sure. I need to check on that. But yeah, if it's something if you have been wanting to play portably in handheld mode, but you want to play with your Pro controller instead, this is something you might want to check out. But yeah, it's called Fixture, Fixture, and this is the S1. And yeah, this is the Founders Edition that I have. But yeah, it kind of folds up really nicely and goes away. But yeah, you put your Switch up here, and you can rotate it a little bit, and then your Pro controller kind of goes in here, and yeah, it makes it kind of top heavy. But it does work. Kind of makes me scared every time it snaps on my Pro controller. I'm not sure if it's gonna break it or not because it's a pretty tight fit. But hey, it does work. And also wanted to point out really quick before we get into all the news and everything that PDP put out a new case that your Switch kind of goes up here, and it's kind of cool because it's a 2-in-1 case, so this is going to be kind of loud. But there's Velcro under there, so you can take the top off if you just want to carry your Switch around like a regular case. But then you can take these off. It's just a handheld thing, but you has a regular strap that you can put over your shoulder, and you can put everything down here at the bottom. So if you're looking for a fairly light, small case to take around your entire system, your dock, all that stuff, PDP actually put this out, and it seems pretty good so far. I'll probably be using it over the holidays to kind of take my Switch around to family and everything. So yeah. So all right. All that out of the way, all we've been playing and playing around with and all that stuff, let's talk about some news. So there's a couple quick things that we want to get into. One is a follow-up, actually, from our last podcast. We talked about the recent changes in GameStop's rewards program and everything, and we actually got a comment on our last podcast that I wanted to bring up. Ryan Anthony said that when they told me the pro membership I'd paid for would deny me the benefits that I was promised come spring, I officially decided to no longer shop at GameStop come this upcoming spring. It's been nice. So he's enjoyed it so far. And so, yeah. So, Barry, it seems like there's some recent rumors, maybe to follow up on this. What's going on there at GameStop?
Yeah, a lot is going on, at least from the way it seems. And it definitely appears as if the ship is sinking.
Hmm.
GameStop as a corporate is apparently closing like 300 of the European stores. The rumor is that after the holidays, 2,000 American stores will be closing down, which is a lot of stores and very well could be one of or multiple of your local stores. But they're also, just been doing a lot of desperate practices, and by desperate practices, it seems like they're making it so that employees have to do X, Y, and Z strictly or they're fired, and where X, Y, and Z are pushing things or adding things on to people's transactions they may not want, or even make it so that if you sell a console, you have to sell it with a game. Like you can't just sell the console, and like when I heard that one, it's like, you know what, I've been thinking about getting maybe a Switch Lite, and now I absolutely will not buy it at GameStop simply because I would feel bad to get somebody fired because they'd be like, you want to buy a game? And it's like, there's no game on the shelf you can point to that I don't already own, and it's like, I couldn't do that to somebody, and that's terrible. On top of that, the website is also ripping people off. During the holiday weekend, they had a sale. It was buy two get one free for current consoles, and buy one get one free on retro, or not retro, but like the past generation consoles. So I did take advantage of it, which I'll talk about more later. But if you did that in a store, and let's say you bought two $50 pre-owned games and two $5 pre-owned games, anyone with a basic math degree will be like, all right, you buy a $50 game, you get the next $50 game free, and then five, and the next five free. That's how it would work. Because if it didn't work that way, you'd see around two separate transactions. If you do it on GameStop.com, it doesn't work that way. You're getting the two $5 games for free. They're going to charge you the $100. Now, if you're paying attention, at least you can catch this. But not only is it shady, it's also preying on people during the holidays that are going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of quick games. I'm going to add them all to the cart. I'm going to trust the computer to give me the best deal. Yes, purchase. Let's go. I want my son to have a lot of games for Christmas, or my daughter to have a lot of games for Christmas. And then you're actually losing money. The website is actually taking money from you because it will not do the correct way of doing it. And then you say, well, you can just make multiple transactions, which is true. But if you have a membership, you get free shipping on $35 or more. So if you have, let's say, oh, I want two $15 games, or say four $15 games. Okay, well, cool. It's going to accurately do it, right? But then you're only totaling $30. You don't get free shipping. So I'm going to add on a $5 game to get free shipping. And by doing that, you're going to get that $5 game for free, and you're going to be charged for a $15 game. It's going to cost you $10 more. It's ridiculous. And especially during this holiday season when it's absolutely, crunch time, so to speak. It's just a way for a company, which is apparently failing pretty hard, to milk more money out of people in a deceitful way. And I caught it, and I'm sure other people have caught it, but I'm willing to bet more people than not did not catch it. And I didn't try the buy two get one free. But I'm assuming it's going to do the same kind of system where if you add 6 games, you're going to get the 2 cheapest free, regardless of the price. As far as I'm aware, it's still like that today. I don't know if that sale is still going on. I think it ended on Monday. But it's just, there's a lot of dirty practices that they're doing, and it's signs of desperation. And it's one of those where GameStop was not necessarily a part of my childhood. I had Funkoland before they got bought out. But if this was a part of your childhood, this could be the end of part of your childhood. So if you have fond memories, or if you're interested in buying stuff, I would look into that, or just wait till next year when there's going to be liquidation, probably.
Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, personally, I'm just glad that I'm not shopping at GameStop, and I haven't been shopping at GameStop for a long time, so no worries here. Barry, or Greg, I keep calling you Barry tonight. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, same deal with me. I haven't been inside a GameStop at least in like 3 or 4 years now, so it's more of a matter of choice. I have no reason to really go in, and I always feel like I'm getting hassled for whatever, and then if they were to try to say like, oh, you're getting two $5 games for free, and you have to pay for the two $50 games, I'd be like, screw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, another thing is one of the things they're told to push, which I'm sure, and this is not a recent thing, I'm sure you guys have experienced this too if you've ever bought at GameStop. Would you like to get the protection plan on the game you're purchasing? It's only X amount of money. I'm sure you guys have gotten that. That is just something they do with every single customer. If you buy a protection plan, first off, most of the time those things are rip-offs and you don't buy them. But if you do buy them, and it's like, all right, I'll buy the year protection or a 2-year protection, and the company goes out of bankrupt next year or closes down next year, you're not getting your money's worth. So how many people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy this for my son because he's maybe destroys things or whatever, and then they're never going to be able to take that in because they're out of business or they're closing out. And it almost seems like the things they're doing are just for the shareholders to raise the price of the shares just a little bit so they can cash out. And of course, once that happens, it's over.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Ryan Anthony, he's in the chat, and he says that he used to actually work at GameStop for 2 years, 2 years ago, and he can tell you right now they push very questionable, borderline illegal business practices. So that's unfortunate. Jared says the best sale the GameStop puts out is the bag deal where you pay $5 and you get a bag of 20 to 25% off all the collectibles. And that's the only deal he really uses that often. That's actually what I've been buying at GameStop lately. Like, not that I go there very often, but if I do go in there, I look at the games, but I mostly go to the collectibles. And I see what kind of T-shirts they got on sale, what kind of board games, what kind of like little collectibles and stuff that they have on sale, because they run some pretty good deals on some of that stuff. And that's what I go to GameStop for anymore. I don't remember the last time well, you know what? I do remember. I got a Ring Fit Adventure at GameStop, but that was only because I couldn't find it at the area that I was out of town at the time, and I couldn't find it at Walmart, and so I went to GameStop because I was like, okay, I know they're gonna have it. But that was the first time I bought a game at GameStop in a long time. So.
Yeah. Speaking of dead pieces of childhood too. I meant to say this before, but I want to tack this on now. I did go somewhere today, so hopefully this does come through on the Skype. But I'll put my phone up, and hopefully you can see what this picture is of where I went.
Oh, you went to the Toys R Us that reopened,
the only one. Opened? The next one opened last week. The next one that's opening is in 2 days in Texas, but is the only current open Toys R Us right now.
And in the United States.
Well, in the United States, yeah. and it's interesting how they redesigned the store, because we did talk about Toys R Us closing before. They actually made it where instead of aisles and aisles and aisles of toys, there's like little cubicles almost of interactive experiences, different toys like Lego has one and stuff like that. And it's really cool because it's like, here's all these interactive experiences, these interactive cubbies. And sure enough, one of those cubbies is in fact Nintendo. Nintendo themselves has an entire cubby, and that cubby contains switches, with demo stations that you can play. Switch, regular Switch Lite. It's got games that you can pick up and play. Of course, it's got little interactive things. There's a pipe. There's a little flagpole with Mario you can pose by, and of course, it's just really interesting just to see like, oh, here is an actual Toys R Us with Nintendo being such a huge focus in it, because like there's like maybe 7, 8 cubbies in like a movie area, and just nice to see Nintendo just get a huge. No other console manufacturer was there. There's no Sony. There's no Microsoft. It's all Nintendo. So yeah, it's another place to buy games, but I hope it's the start of bringing Toys R Us back. Yeah. But I figured I'd share that I happen to go to that.
That's cool. How far away is that from you?
5 minutes from my house.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it wasn't a big drive. It was just we went to the mall to go to the movies actually today, and it was like, oh my god, I forgot Toys R Us is open and it's right next to the movie theater, so let's go check it out.
That's awesome.
That was my first time being at the revamp, because it opened last week. But yeah, if you're in the area, you definitely can check it out. I think it's cool. And if you're in Texas and you're excited about it opening, I'd check it out. And hopefully it does well. I think they want to open a total of 10 locations in the U.S. and hopefully that expands and they don't go bankrupt again. But just seeing Jeffrey Giraffe again was just like my childhood. It also didn't help that we went to go see the Mr. Rogers movie, so it was total childhood all day.
That's some nostalgia day right there. Roth says that if only they bring it back, KB Toys. I'm with you, Roth.
KB Toys is coming back, I thought.
Oh,
I thought they were coming back.
Don't give me false hope.
I think they want to start it back up again on smaller scale. Nice. The internet at a different age.
Yeah. You said like the one that I grew up with that got bought out by a GameStop was Electronics Boutique. Like I remember EB Games a lot more, and then
EB Games bigger. They got bought up in like 2006.
Yeah. It's been a while, but I do remember.
What about Babbage's, the software, etc.?
Babbage's, yes.
Ones that GameStop bought up.
Man, that's all of those. Like that's where I went.
Software too, I think, was another one they bought up. I think.
Yeah, that's exactly where I went to when I went to the mall. Usually with my mom, my grandma. I'm like, okay, I'll be in Babbage's. I'll be in EB. Like that's where I'll be. So you come find me when you're done shopping. That's where I'm gonna be the whole time. So. All right. Sam Goodies. Like we're just going right back down to the nostalgia thing of Ryan just wants everything from the 90s. I agree. And a lot of things from the 90s are coming back. They really are making a return. So, Greg, tell us a little bit about Fire Emblem Heroes. Like there may be an update coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah, so the word on the street is that there's probably going to be a Fate channel this week. So, that's because of our podcast that we always do.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the Faye update.
Yeah, I could definitely send you the video when it's live, and then you can listen to Faye go, Faye! Flap, flap, flap. Those videos are hysterical. I love it.
Awful. I covered one of them. That was all. I was like, I vowed never to do it ever again. I was like, Greg, if we're going to cover these, they're all yours.
Yeah, so the gist of it is like last year we got the start of Book 3 in December. So like Book 3 just wrapped up in November last month. And now, so Book 4 is going to be coming out very soon. They haven't they usually send out like update notifications if it's like a smaller update with just like a few features being added or a few things are being put added to this shop and a few things added here. They normally send all of that like an in-game notification, but the last in-game notification was just about the characters that are getting their latest batch of weapons, which they've done in every update for the last, I don't know, like 24 some updates. And then so that's why there's Book 4s will be launching this month, and so there's probably going to be a major game update, possibly with new modes or new features, and no one knows what's going to be added to the game, and a lot of the people at least in the community that I've been mentioning are just eagerly waiting for news and information, so the Fate channel is definitely due either tonight after this podcast or later this week even, so... No one knows what's coming, but we know it's coming soon, and we know like the next story book is going to be launching this month. So
nice.
If you're still playing the game, just watch for the in-game notification of the Fate channel video, and you can watch it. And they don't really do live streams anymore. They just go, by the way, we posted a new video to YouTube. Go watch it. So
just go watch it. Yeah, that's cool. I again, as everybody knows, I'm not a huge fan of Fire Emblem, but hey, for people that are, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know what it would take to get Barry back on board playing again, but
I don't know. Oh, maybe Mega Man. Mega Man's in Dragalia. I got Mega Man and Fire Emblem.
I have to slow Mega Man down a lot.
Yeah, it'll just be an armored unit.
Yeah. Cool. So, anything you're really hoping for, Greg, in this update?
I really hope they add like a skill shop, because one of the biggest problems is like acquiring new units. Then you get like new that have all these brand new skills that get added to the game with like each new banner, which is like easily a few times a month, because there's like special hero banners and normal chapter hero banners and everything along with that. But having an actual like skill shop where you could just purchase some skills or something, that would be really great, and then you're not having to kill some of your favorite units just to get a skill that you might need to remain very competitive.
Only $4.99 each.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll find out what the update brings. Barry, you heard some news about PlayStation, huh? Got honored by the Guinness Book of or the Guinness Records, or I remember the Guinness. Speaking
Guinness
of the
World
'90s,
Records.
Guinness Book of World Records, right? Like the bookstore sales and everything during school. Like I always had to get my Guinness Book of World Records. So the Guinness World Records honored PlayStation a little bit.
Yeah, they were just awarded a certificate for the best-selling video game home console brand ever. Because unlike other companies like Nintendo and Microsoft, well, Microsoft's actually doing it with Xbox, but Nintendo likes to change the name of their systems. It's always Nintendo something. The Game Boy was as close as they got. The DS you can argue, and the Wii you can argue, but they never really stuck with the name like PlayStation honestly did with Sony. So because of that, the total units sold. They're going from the original console launch in Japan on December 3rd, 1994, till November 7th, 2019, were a combined 450,190,000 units sold between PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4. That's a lot of consoles sold. And of course, again, because they're all the PlayStation names, and it's only counting home consoles. But even if you look at their portables, the PlayStation Portable and the PlayStation Vita, they did keep that name.
Yeah.
So again, this is only home consoles, but it is still a very, very high record, and it's a shame Nintendo, might have had they kept the same naming conventions. But we all know Nintendo stinks at naming their systems, unfortunately, for the most part, or at least updating the names. But I think it's worth congratulating Sony and the PlayStation team for that, because that is an amazing accomplishment. And obviously, since the next system is going to be the PlayStation 5, it's going to be very hard for any company to top it at this point.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds like they were just lazy and they didn't want to add up all the different Nintendo names.
Well, it's not about who sold the most consoles. It's specifically best-selling video game home console brand, and that's just it. Nintendo isn't the brand. Nintendo is the company, just like Sony isn't the brand. Sony is the company. Like Sony TVs weren't, hey, I'm going to buy a Sony TV. It's a Sony Bravia TV. They all have their names, and the brand is PlayStation. It's not Sony. It's a different division inside of Sony.
Yeah.
So Nintendo is only consoles. There is no brand to Nintendo other than like Game Boy, DS, Wii, like those. Even Switch is a brand, but when it's not enough total to hit that number because Nintendo keeps changing it up.
Yeah. Do we go ahead?
Isn't their name like part of the brand though? Like I would always consider everything was called just Nintendo. If you talk to any parents that bought our consoles,
not officially.
I'm gonna go to the store and buy
not officially.
Nintendo.
And they did some things
like the
with
Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the Super Nintendo Entertainment.
But
System.
then they went away from that with
then they went
Wii.
away.
Like Wii was just Wii. It wasn't Nintendo Wii.
Well, it was Nintendo Wii, but
actually it wasn't. No, the official brand was Wii. Home console or something like that, and like made by Nintendo or something like that. They actually, because they've been pretty clear about it's Nintendo Switch, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, but the Wii was just Wii. Like that's how they branded it, and the trademark was just Wii. So it was interesting. But
I always heard Nintendo Wii, and I also heard like Nintendo Wii U.
Yeah,
it was like Nintendo Switch, so that's why I was figured like their name is almost kind of part of the brand.
It is, but that's not what the award's for, because that's the name of the company.
Right, because it's like it's a Sony PlayStation as well.
It is.
So Sony wasn't awarded the thing; it was actually PlayStation that got the award. So yeah,
it's the brand.
Yeah.
People will still know what you're saying. Hey, do you have a Nintendo? But honestly, if you ask the average person, like the average, not a gamer, not somebody in the community, just like walked up to somebody on the street and say, hey, do you play Nintendo? They're probably going to think of NES, SNES, maybe even N64, maybe Wii, maybe. But they're not even going to, on average, even going to think about the Switch, even though the Switch is selling like hotcakes. Like, it instantly brings you back to the older system. Like, oh yeah, I used to play Nintendo. It's kind of like the old ad, have you played your Atari today? It didn't say, have you played your Atari 2600 today, or your Atari 800, or your Atari 400, whatever. It was, have you played your Atari today? That's a product of that time. And that's where Nintendo came in. So they were kind of following suit. And that's the unfortunate thing in terms of total sales. Although I don't even know in total sales who has sold more home consoles. Portable, it's no question. Nintendo has sold the most portable consoles, period. Mm-hmm. But in terms of home consoles, at this point, I don't even know. Only because the Sony has 3 consoles over 300 million. Yeah. And one almost at 3 consoles over 100 million is what I mean, and one almost at 100 million. I guess 450 total million, with PlayStation 2 being the number 1 selling console of all time. I'm not sure what all Nintendo's added up, but like the NES was like 40 something or 50 something million, and the SNES actually undersold it. It was like 40 something million or 50 something million. Like, it was lower. The N64 was like 30-something million. The GameCube was only 20.
It just kept going down.
It kept going down into the Wii.
Yeah.
It actually did. If you look at a chart, it all goes down into the Wii, and then it drops to the Wii U, which was 31 million. Ryan's posting actual numbers. So 61 and then 49 NES and SNES. So those two alone just equal 100 million. The Wii is the only Nintendo home console to sell over 100 million, and it barely did it.
Yeah.
The Switch is on pace to do it, but if you look at all the others, it's not even close, even if you counted it as a Nintendo brand.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. As much as Nintendo is beloved, as much as Nintendo is profitable, it's still, in home console only, has not sold as much as PlayStation 1 to 4.
Yeah.
If you look at handhelds, then Nintendo is most likely on top. But again, you have to count the PSP and the Vita then as well, which even though the Vita didn't do as well, the PSP did very well.
Yeah.
PSP, I think, had like 80-something million. Like, it wasn't something to shy at.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, didn't the DS match the PlayStation 2?
No, it was just under it. But again, the PS2 took home console. Yeah. But DS did undersell the PS2. DS is the number 1 handheld console of all times in terms of sales, and it's nothing to shy away from. But it still doesn't equal, even though Nintendo's had more consoles in more years. Remember, Nintendo got in on the 80s. Video gaming was, they're coming off the video game crash. I mean, people were playing in the 80s, and we were playing in the 80s growing up, but the vast majority of people looked at games as toys. There weren't adults playing NES games. I mean, there were some, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, the average Joe, like, if you went to a business office in 1985, 1986, 87, they weren't sitting around the water cooler talking about how they were doing in The Legend of Zelda, as awesome as it would be, or Super Mario Brothers. But if you go to one right now, I guarantee you there's going to be some kind of conversation about Call of Duty, of Fortnite, of Apex, of even Star Wars. There's going to be some kind of conversation about video games because it is so mainstream at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the people who got hooked when it was Mario and Zelda, and they just stuck with it. Yep. So I think the coolest, it's actually quite amazing, I think, to me to think about that, because I think in general, I mean, recently I read a saw something that apparently Miyamoto has gone on record that he wants to make Mario as much of a name brand and as recognizable as Mickey Mouse. And it was odd to me because I think it once was that. Like, I thought there was a time when actually Mario was as recognizable as Mickey Mouse, or more recognizable. But that's the case. I think there are so many people in the world as a whole, but especially in the United States and Japan and Europe, that really feel that, like, if you ask the just general population about video games, they probably know about Nintendo games more than anything else. So I think it's probably the anecdotal evidence that I think it's the most recognizable brand. However, PlayStation has sold a lot more, and that's just interesting to me. I like how that all works out, even though Nintendo has so much more of that brand name that people know Mario, people know Zelda, people know Donkey Kong, they know that stuff. But like PlayStation, meanwhile, is not as recognizable, but they're selling like hotcakes, and they have been. I mean, they've had their and they've even had their downtimes when like PlayStation 3 launched with way too high of a price, and people like scoffed at it and they didn't buy it. And so it kind of tanked in terms of like for coming off of PlayStation 2, but then they bounced back and PlayStation 4 is selling like crazy, and it's still like the most, the highest selling one of our current generation. And so it's so interesting to have that dynamic, I think.
Well, don't forget also that the PS3 actually did outsell the 360 by the end of it.
By the end, they did bounce back, but at the beginning wasn't good.
the way terrible. The way you have to look at it is Nintendo has the most recognizable IP and the most famous IP of all video games, but PlayStation as a brand has sold more units than anyone else, which is really ironic when you think about it, because PlayStation wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Nintendo and their botched deal with Sony, and Nintendo very well could have had that 450 million units sold right there if they had just stuck the landing and kept with Sony and made a deal. And they didn't want to share that piece of pie. They didn't want to give Sony their cut. And you know what? That decision is truly biting them in the ass, and it continues to every day. Yeah. Still, they're making money, but they could be making a lot more money.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if the people at Nintendo are sitting there going, oh, PlayStation's the best-selling brand console. That was ours at one time.
It could have been. See, what Sony does is Sony will take a property, they'll make an IP, and they'll make it last for a generation. Maybe have a carryover game or two into the next generation, and then be done with it. Jak and Daxter was a PS2, and it died. It got they kept re-releasing the games, but it was PS2 and PSP, of course. Mm-hmm. You look, God of War was PS2, and then you had a couple PS3 games, and then they actually brought it back for a PS4 game, which was shocking. All the Ratchet and Clank was PS2 and PS3, and then there was a PS4 only because of a movie. If the movie didn't come out, they would have let it die. Killzone, PS2, PS3 died in PS4. Like, they let their properties carry. Uncharted, PS3, and then PS4. And PS4 was mainly, all right, you want an Uncharted 4, we'll give you one. They move on. Naughty Dog was Jak and Daxter, moved on to Uncharted, move on to Last of Us. And that's the way they do it. Where Nintendo will take a property and keep making games for it, and for most of the time. I mean, obviously there's some great properties that they're just sitting on doing nothing, like F-Zero, Star Fox, Star Tropics, Kid Icarus. But for the most part, Nintendo will keep their properties going. That's why their IPs are more well known. It's kind of like Sega. If you ask a general person, hey, do you know any Sega IPs? They'll probably tell you Sonic the Hedgehog because they keep making Sonic games. But very rarely will they say Panzer Dragoon, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, House of the Dead, stuff like that.
I'll say Crazy Taxi, but
they've let Alex Kidd, right. Echo the Dolphin. They let so many of their IPs just slip away.
Yeah.
And so that's where Nintendo's strong point is, but they just didn't keep the name. And even if they did PlayStation still outsold it, and they deserve that award. That is an accomplishment, and they need to be praised for it. That is awesome, and it's awesome for the industry as a whole. Because if they do well, then the industry is strong, and if the industry is strong, then it only benefits Nintendo and everybody else, Microsoft and us.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's so interesting to think like that was a good move on Sony's behalf to spin off and do their own thing. Not good for Nintendo, but it turned out well for Sony. Let's actually. I'm going to call an audible. I'm going to bury the lead because I think this makes sense. Let's switch in from talking about the success of the PlayStation. Let's talk about the success of the Nintendo Switch, specifically over this last weekend. So Black Friday weekend, you got sales going like crazy. We talked about them over the last couple episodes, and then we got Cyber Monday. All those sort of things going on this past weekend, and in all but Europe, actually all but the UK, Nintendo Switch ended up dominating. So basically the Switch was the most popular, among the most popular items sold on Black Friday, according to analysts who said that the gaming console benefited from the aging competition, according to CNN. And they had that bundle with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even though it was the old system that didn't have the greatest battery life. It still sold like crazy because you got a $60 game of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe thrown in, which is a great deal. And if you don't play on the go a whole lot, that is a great system to buy, especially if you're planning on getting Mario Kart anyhow. You got it thrown in for free. So that was great. Lots of cool stuff going on for Nintendo Switch, except for in the UK, because actually Xbox One somehow beat out Nintendo in the UK. And it kind of took out the Nintendo Switch just narrowly, according to My Nintendo News kind of reports on it. It says just narrowly lost to the Xbox One, not the PlayStation 4. So, what are you guys' thoughts about that? Just the news, like Nintendo dominated. Did you expect that to happen? Were you surprised at all? And also, were you surprised about Xbox, actually, Xbox One winning out in the UK? What do you think, Greg?
That's awesome. It's really great to hear that the Switch is still going really strong. And obviously, I think the UK is a slightly different market. I feel like that's always been catered more towards like PlayStation and Xbox than Nintendo from what I've heard and seen from my gaming communities that I'm a part of. So it's obviously a great feat for Nintendo, and really glad to hear they had a pretty good, strong kickoff to the holiday season. Yeah.
What do you think, Barry?
I think it makes sense. First off, I think Nintendo knew this. And I think they had some backstock of the old Black Friday from last year, and they were just like, let's get rid of it. It's the old Switch model. They're literally were probably sitting in a warehouse for a year, and they're just like, let's send them out to stores. Let's get rid of all our stock. Let's get rid of it. And I think they knew with the pretty much, if someone really wanted a PS4 at this point, they would have had it. And if someone really wanted an Xbox One, they would have had it. And with the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet coming next year, unless there's some kind of delay, it's confirmed holiday 2020 they'll be here. Some people are probably holding off, whereas the Switch is still younger in its life. It hasn't hit 3 years left. It's still going strong. And that's, if someone already has a PS4 and they're going to hold off for the PS5, why not get a Switch right now? And I think that benefits. I know Nintendo's also been aggressive with their commercials. They have definitely been advertising, but I've noticed that when the Switch first launched, it was advertising to kids or to adults, and now it's more advertising to kids. Yep. Like even when I was sitting in the movie theater waiting before the previews, they had like commercials running, and there was a Nintendo Switch commercial, and it was all kids playing Mario Kart and playing Splatoon and playing, different game of Super Mario Party. And that is obviously marketed towards kids right now because of the holidays, and they're trying to get...
And I noticed a lot of family advertisements as well. Yeah. So kids and families kind of playing into those holidays as well. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. So it makes sense. Is it an accomplishment? Absolutely. Is it great for Nintendo? Absolutely. Does it get more Switches in people's hands, which will only encourage more third parties to get on board? Absolutely. As it is, the Switch has outsold the Xbox One. This is only going to strengthen the gap, even though Microsoft did outsell it. It's still going to strengthen the gap and just push on ahead. This isn't the holiday I was really concerned with analyzing the industry. Next holiday, and even more so the holiday after that, holiday 2021 is going to be the real test. If Nintendo does not put out a Pro, holiday 2021, I think the Switch is going to get destroyed. Just because next holiday, and the reason I give it 2 holidays is because next holiday 2020, we don't know what the scarcity of getting a PS5 or getting a Scarlet is going to be. Presuming that it's harder to get them, because usually when a system launches, they're a little bit more scarce. People might settle for getting the Switch, or the Switch will outsell the PS5 only because there weren't enough PS5s to go around, which we've seen before with Nintendo, where there was like scarcity with the Wii and even with the Switch. I think it's going to be more telling the following holiday and how Nintendo tackles this.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Ryan's actually asking what our concerns are about for the next gen. So it's you jumping right ahead there, Barry. Yeah,
I wasn't even reading.
Greg, what do you think? What do you think this like Barry was saying and what Ryan's asking, moving forward, is this the last time if Nintendo doesn't like take that leap forward with a Pro or the Switch 2 or whatever it is next, if they try to play this out, do you think we'll see the Switch still dominating next year, or is they kind of be pushed to the side and forgotten about?
I don't know. It's been a pretty strong library so far, and it just is continuing to grow. So from a software perspective, it seems like they might be able to maintain somewhat momentum. Obviously, the console's overall sales are probably going to be taking the biggest hit, but I mean, they've already got a lot sold and a lot more to continue to sell, especially with some the upcoming games. A lot of people really are looking forward to Animal Crossing. Metroid Prime 4 is going to be coming around in a few more years, probably. Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, there are some really, really big games coming, starting with Animal Crossing, obviously, since we have a date in March for that. But going beyond 2020, I mean, there's still the Legend of Zelda games and stuff like that. So we'll have to see if they're going to try to see how long the Switch is going to last. I mean, if they're going to see pretty much a tank in their sales after the launch of the Scarlet and PS5, then maybe they might have to do a Pro Edition or even a Switch 2, a Switch successor at that point. But I don't know. It's probably going to see how those are received, and also how if Nintendo is really going to be put in a more difficult position at that time. So
yeah. Ryan's suggesting that they maybe cut the prices, that could help them next year. I think it could. I don't know if it will be if they did, would that be able to help them compete? I actually see it I was thinking if they continue down this path and if they don't release a new iteration of this system, I almost see the Switch going the way of the Game Boy and the DS, the 3DS, as a handheld system or as an additional system. It's not just handheld, but as an additional system to the Xbox or to the PlayStation. Similar kind of to the Wii a little bit. People had their PlayStation and their Wii, or they had their Xbox and the Wii. It was the thing that they got out with the family. So the Switch would be the thing they play the first-party Nintendo games on, the thing they take on the go to game on the go. But when they really want to game hardcore, quote, hardcore gaming, they'll fire up the PlayStation 5, they'll fire up the Xbox Scarlet instead. So I think it's still got life in it, but in terms of competing, I think they've got to step it up in some way in order to keep competing, because if not, they're going to be the other system, and they're going to stay in that other system.
You said the magic word there, and that is competing. And Nintendo has gone on record saying that they do not look at Microsoft and Sony as rivals. And I think that is the worst thing that they could do, because competition fuels the industry, period. Yep. It fuels development, it fuels growth, and it's one of those things where they need to really compete if they want to get out of that second console shadow. And they've been in that shadow for a long time. And yeah, they have a niche. They've got the handheld market. They got the portable market. It is a fact. They've definitely got it, but they could have so much more. And people will always buy Nintendo systems for Nintendo games. That is a fact. However, those games don't always move a console. Just look at the Wii U. And the last time they truly competed was really the GameCube, and that came in third place due to some hindrance of the smaller discs and some other weird choices that Nintendo did. But if you look at what's driven games more recently, it's been online experiences, it's been multiplayer, it's been hanging out with your friends and doing things with your friends, and with cross-play being a thing now, that no longer is a barrier that Nintendo needs to worry about. Because I know a lot of people like, oh, well, I have an Xbox and I have a PS4 or whatever, and my friend has the Xbox One version of the game, so I'm going to buy the Xbox One version so I can play with him, which totally makes sense. With crossplay, that's no longer an issue. Hey, I have the Nintendo version, I can still play. They really need to decide where they're going with this, because if they want to compete, the biggest games sold on Black Friday, and the biggest games sold of the year are your Call of Duties, or your Maddens, or your Grand Theft Autos, or your FIFAs. These are factual, high-selling games, and of course, these games are also higher selling because they're on multi-platform. So you have to take the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC sales, and you put them all together, and that's why these are always going to be on the top. Where Nintendo system or Nintendo games, as much as they sell, will never be the top because it's only on Nintendo, and that's fine. But the problem is all these top games, or most of the top games, aren't on the Switch. FIFA's on the Switch in a butchered version. NBA is on the Switch, but there's no Call of Duty, there's no Grand Theft Auto, there's no Madden. And even though these aren't my type of games, this would benefit Nintendo greatly to get these type of games onto their system, because that's what they need. That's where they have the hardcore, they have us, they have the gamers. But the casual, the average gamers, the ones that only play 4 or 5 games a year, or will pretty much buy Call of Duty and Madden, and that's it, and they'll play that on multiplayer for a year until the next iteration comes out. Nintendo's not getting any of their business, and Nintendo could get their business if they're being more aggressive. Think about it. You playing Call of Duty, you love playing with your friends, well, how about you can play it portably as well and play it with your friends, the same people, and then when you get home, boom, right to the dock. And you're going on a family vacation and you want to play in the hotel room, you can do that. They would sell so many more units doing that, and they don't have those titles.
Right.
And they're not pushing to get those titles, even they're because they could go to EA, they can go to Activision, they can go to Rockstar and say, hey, what is it going to take to get these titles on the Switch? What is it going to take? And it may be more power. I know, like the Frostbite engine, I think is with EA, isn't working on the Switch or whatever. They can get them working. Or what do you need? You need more power. Let's talk about it. Because if I was in charge of Nintendo, I would be wanting to get those titles on the Switch ASAP, because those titles are selling millions upon millions of units, and none of those millions of units are on Nintendo platforms. And with if you're Nintendo, you make money on every game sold on your system. So even if they, all right, well, Call of Duty sold 30 million and it was 10, 10, and 10, that's 10 million units of a game sold on your system that you're now reaping the money from, as opposed to 0 units.
Right.
So that's what Nintendo needs to do, in my opinion, to truly compete again, if they want to.
If they want to. Ryan says in the chat, like they compete whether they like to or not. Like it's a competition because they're in the video game industry and they're competing. But he says, give me a powerful Nintendo console able to compete with technologically with the PS4 and Xbox and all of those Nintendo first party IP with third party support, and that's the system that I would want as well. Also, my wallet will appreciate that because then I only have to buy one console next time instead of buying the Xbox as well, because there's some games that I want to play on there and there's some games I don't play on the PS4. If I get one system from Nintendo that I can play all of those games, both first party and third party, and it can do the other things that I get from those other systems, and I can take it on the go, oh, by all means, I'm going to be a day one buyer anyhow of anything they put out, but I will be like camping out if I have to for something like that, because then I can just like retire all the others. I can put put that extra money, maybe even to more games on a Nintendo console, and they get my money for it.
So let's for argument's sake say that Nintendo is going to do this. Let's say Nintendo is actually going to Activision, going to EA, going to Rockstar, and they say, "Oh, we need to be more powerful for us to bring the games over. We will bring them over." And Nintendo says, "If we build it, you will come." Yes, absolutely. Now, do you think it would be wiser to do a Switch Pro as a half evolution upgrade, like the DSi and the new 3DS, as well as the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X? Or do you think it would be wiser to cut the Switch's life in a shorter way and do a Switch 2 fully backwards compatible with the Switch, still let Switch games come out because it's still playable on the Switch 2, and the Switch 2 just be so much more powerful to get these games on there? What do you think would be better?
I'll let you go first, Greg.
I would say the Switch 2 then, because I would think it would need more than a modest upgrade. I think they should be more future-proof, and they can still do exclusives to that one, and then ones that are simpler can be brought to both.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, if it's possible, I think the Switch 2. I hope that Nintendo has their best engineers like away somewhere in a locked room going, how can we figure out how to jump a generation up to be able to even compete with PS5 and Xbox Scarlet in a handheld, like still in the same kind of version of a Switch, but jump the generation and be able to compete with that. Hands down. And I think they'll sell more too, because a Pro Edition, like some people may upgrade, some people may not, but you give them the next generation, then people are going to shell out their money again. They'll be like, oh yeah, I know why I'm buying this, because it's the next thing.
Yeah. Well, see, now some people might feel smited by it, like, oh, well, the Switch, why did I buy into the Switch if you're just going to put out a brand new system? If you think realistically, if they don't do it in 2020, but they do it in 2021, like the holiday 2021, they let as technology goes on, obviously it's a little cheaper, so it could work. You're talking 2017 to 2021. You're looking at 4 years, almost 5 years on the market, because it was the early 2017. So you're almost looking at 5 years. That if you look at the Wii U had just the same thing. It was 4.5 years in between before the Switch came out. So it wouldn't be terrible. And especially when the Switch came out, Wii U games virtually died. There was Cars 3 and a couple Just Dances, and I think that might be it. Mm-hmm. And Axiom Verge. But if you think about it, they could still put out Switch games playable, put on the little thing playable on Switch 2 right on the artwork, much like they had like Game Boy games playable on Game Boy Color or Super Game Boy or whatever, and do something like that. So if you're not a Switch 2 adopter, you'll still get some Switch games. Indie games will totally go for there. Nintendo could do a Twilight Princess Breath of the Wild type thing and release their game on both systems, or if you want Sushi Strikers, Captain Toad, the games that went on 3DS and on Wii U, Fire Emblem Warriors, stuff like that. So I think that I agree with you. I think that would be the absolute best avenue they can go down. It just depends on if they want to. And I think they would be stupid, honestly, not to do that, because there's only money to be made. There's only new loyalties to be found. Yeah. And if you piss off somebody and they buy one game a year, who cares? Yeah. Go for the people that are spending the money.
Totally. Well, I think it's a big thing to know, like, if they can figure out if they can still capitalize the people who want to, like, if they keep with the Switch model and that they keep that moving forward, this hybrid console, like, then if they've cornered the market in that, then great. Just keep beefing that thing up as much as you can, and you do got a huge market of the video game industry that PlayStation and Xbox are not competing with right now. However, we don't really know the full details about what PS5 and Scarlet are going to look like and how they're exactly going to play. If they have a handheld component of that, if they kind of try to rip that off or copy it from Nintendo, I don't know. If they push that off to 2021, are they too little too late on that?
That depends. I think they're not too late, and the only reason I say that is the people who want a PS5 and the people who want an Xbox Scarlet, like right away, they're going to be getting it no matter what. If Nintendo comes out in holiday 2020 and saying, hold on, we've got the most amazing console coming out in holiday 2021, a year away, just wait a year. They might still buy it, but they're not going to hold off. The diehards are going to buy it no matter what. And when a console launches, those are usually the ones that are sold, or the diehards. It's usually a year or two after that the more casual gamers start to purchase, which is why the year one is really so important for the diehards.
Yeah.
And then you build the momentum on top of that. So I think PS5 and Scarlet are going to sell regardless of what Nintendo does, because there are PS fanboys, there are Xbox fanboys, there are people who just like games that absolutely want to own one of those consoles, or their friends are going to own it and they want to own it so that they can play with their friends. That's going to happen regardless. Sure. And just like us, we will buy the Nintendo console at launch, like you even said just a few minutes ago, Steve. You're going to buy it day one anyway.
Yeah.
And if Sony said, "Oh, don't buy it, we've got this great thing," you're going to be like, "No, I'm still going to buy Nintendo's thing, and maybe I'll buy you." So I don't think that is as imperative as year two into the system.
It's true. Yeah, Greg.
There was an article that I wanted to kind of shoot into our podcast thing that I didn't get a chance to. But there was an interview with Reggie on like his retirement and like his work philosophy and like what it is to like work like at Nintendo, that kind of thing, that was just recently posted. I think it was like a Eurogamer, I don't know, some type of game magazine or something. And it was pretty much how Nintendo's mostly focused on the gaming experience. Like back before the Wii, they felt like the video game industry was getting kind of stagnant and there wasn't really any innovation, and that's why Nintendo like really went out of its way and did like the revolution with like the motion controls and also like the DS and 3DS and that kind of, everyone likes to call those gimmicks. So pretty much that's kind of like how they are more looking to expand on how it could be more fun and more about the actual experience than actually just chasing the technology specs.
Sure.
So I think that's why they've been kind of focused on that for the time being, but obviously they're still competing with Microsoft and Sony whether they want to or not, and maybe they are happy just being that other console that people will buy in addition to a different one.
Yeah.
I don't know. In terms of getting third-party support, it's kind of harder to go that way if they're not going to be supporting the power and the specs and the engines that they need to properly run those games. So.
And we've seen with those gimmicks, sometimes that turns third parties away as well. And so it's something that we'll talk about this in a future episode, because we're going to spend a lot of time in a couple episodes talking about speculations and everything. But I think some just a file away for a future episode, like what could the gimmick be on a Switch 2? Like if they were to, like, let's say they did bump it up all the specs and everything and it is compete, but what could that gimmick be if they did eventually hit that Switch 2? What are they going to do differently that time? So
Smell-o-vision.
maybe. For the sake of time,
it'll be made out of cardboard and you're be like
right.
Super
Build your own Switch.
It's still around there.
Labo Switch.
Let's move on because we do have two more bigger things to talk about tonight. Game Awards are on Thursday, December 5th, and are you guys going to be watching live? Or going to be catching later? Is it not the 5th? 12th. Oh, it's in 2 weeks. Oh,
2 weeks.
Good. Okay, we got a week and a half away, so December 12th. So not right around the corner, but pretty soon. Will you guys be watching live? Greg, are you gonna be watching?
I'll see. I mean, I think it normally starts a little bit. I don't remember is it like a 8 or 9 o'clock start time or
something like that. Yeah.
I might see about trying to watch it live, or maybe just more read recaps and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Barry, you been watching?
Yeah, I've been watching every year since it was on Spike,
Yep.
watching live. And, at first I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to bother. It's just a Game Awards. But then they started doing the announcements and the world premieres and the reveals
Yeah.
and more Nintendo's even been a part of that. And it's like, all right, now I watch it more for the E3 kind of deal, like what games are being shown off than the actual awards sometimes.
Yeah, that's so true. Especially with this year's nominations. I mean, like, it's going to be the same things winning over and over and over again, like it always is. But yeah, I'm going to miss the beginning of it because of prior obligations and stuff like that. But I'll be catching in like maybe about halfway through. It's a long show, so I'll actually probably end up catching the majority of it, even though I'll miss like the first hour. I'll probably still be there for like the next 3 hours. But I'll be watching everything. So yeah, so we talked about the nominations on our last episode. If you missed that, you can catch that one later after this one. But yeah, I thought it'd be fun just to kind of talk through maybe some predictions of what we expect to see that night, what we expect to see Nintendo winning, and then maybe what we expect to see from Nintendo, because there usually is some big reveals on the behalf of Nintendo at the Game Awards. So let's talk about predictions for winners overall. And so you guys can go at whatever you want. So we're not going to take it category by category just for time's sake. But what do you think Nintendo will be walking away with this year in terms of games that will actually win in the categories? There's a lot nominated, and there's a lot of there's some third parties that are on Nintendo consoles as well. I think this is I don't know for sure, but I feel like Nintendo is represented in a lot more of the categories and a lot more of the nominations this year than they have been in the previous years. And especially in the best family game category, because they're just all Nintendo.
Yeah.
So we know that one. It's going to be a Nintendo game in that one. But which one will win? So Barry, I want to go to you first, and you can kind of just make some predictions. What do you think Nintendo is going to win?
Well, I'm personally hoping that Smash takes Game of the Year, but I know it's most likely not, even though I think it is well deserving for what it does. But I do hope Smash does get some awards, and if Link's Awakening gets even one award, I will be cheering very loudly because I love that game. Well, forever we'll love that game. I really want to see Cadence of Hyrule get Best Music. I think that has a soundtrack. Unlike others, even though it is Zelda music, it is so well done in terms of remix, and those are the main ones I want to see. I think Astral Chain is up. I'd love to hear that theme play as they announce Astral Chain as a winner. And I'm just gonna be psyched to see it nominated because that kind of came out of nowhere, and it came out of nowhere quickly. It was announced this year, it was released this year, and that's shocking considering last year, no, not 2 years ago at the Game Awards they announced Bayonetta 3, and it's still haven't heard anything since. But but yeah, those are the ones I'm really pulling for. Luigi's Mansion would be cool to get a family game. I think that game does deserve even more of a Game of the Year maybe nod, but definitely. Was Pokemon even nominated?
I don't remember seeing it on the list anywhere.
I don't think Pokemon might have missed the cutoff. I'm not sure because Smash Brothers missed the cutoff.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's who I would like to see win, or what I'm hoping for.
Shout out to Hassan. He's in the chat. He's so ready for the Game Awards. Hassan, what do you think is going to win? Greg, let's go to you next.
I don't know. I've always heard lots of buzz around Smash, and it's usually a system seller, and it's one that there's a lot of people that actually buy the console just to play just Smash. They don't really care about Zelda or Mario. It's always usually about Smash. So I almost anticipate them winning some. Game of the Year, I don't know because I've never played the other one. So obviously I'd be rooting for it for Game of the Year. I don't know if I expect it to win because it's kind of hard to tell because I know it's very polished, it's a very fun game, and you can easily sink hundreds, thousands of hours into it, and it never really gets old, and it's always fun to play. So you can always play it casually with family and friends, or you could just play it more, try to competitively in tournaments, and it's got both sides of the spectrum, so I almost expected to win a number of rewards that it's up for. Um, and also, I'm with Barry. I'd like to see Link's Awakening win something or other, whether it's like best family game or best like action adventure game or whatever other, or like art direction. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a gorgeous game. Let's see some of the other categories. I'm trying to scroll through really quick. I would like to see Mario Maker 2 get its only nod in the family game, but I don't know if that will actually happen or not. Because typically, you probably play Smash more with your family than with Mario Maker.
Yeah.
I would think Smash has a really good shot at the fighting game. It's usually pretty common there, so I would not be actually surprised if that Untitled Goose Game gets the independent game. It's kind of certainly very interesting and lots of fun. So I really hope that they get that one because, like I said in the beginning, I've really been enjoying that one.
Yeah. The chat room's talking about voting, and if you haven't voted yet, make sure you go to thegameawards.com and vote. And we don't know, how much our vote counts in the overall thing. I don't think they've actually said like what the percentage goes down, because I know they do have a board or a panel or something like that also votes. I'm assuming their vote probably carries more weight, but I really don't know. I don't know if it's 50-50 or what. But I think all we can do is go there and vote. And so if you haven't done so yet, make sure you do take some time and just vote for all the categories that you want to. You don't have to vote in all the categories, but if you have some favorites, go ahead and there and vote. I agree with you guys. I think there's some great games in there. I think that the family game really does it confuses me because I don't know how you view it, because I think Smash Brothers jumps out to me as probably like the most popular game in that list. But is it the best family game? Like, I don't really play Smash with my family. I would probably play Ring Fit Adventure or Yoshi or Super Mario Maker before I would play Smash. Although I think the best game in there, it could be a toss-up between that and Luigi's Mansion 3 because it's so good. But I don't know. I don't really play with my family, but it's a family-friendly game. But so like how they view that will be interesting, and how other people that are voting, how they view the best family game category, how they go into it with what kind of mindset. I really hope that Smash gets the best fighting game. I think it stands a really good chance at getting the best fighting game. The Zelda, I think it could get best action adventure, but I don't know. With some of those other games on there, there's a pretty strong competition in the action adventure one. But I definitely I agree with you guys talking about like Untitled Goose Game. I think that stands a really good chance of getting the best indie game, and the audio design, or not, the best score and music, that really needs to go to Cadence of Hyrule. Such a great soundtrack. Like I've said on previous podcasts, I don't even like that style of game, but I've been tempted to get the game so much because of the music. I don't want to play the game. I just want to listen to the soundtrack over and over. So I think if a game if a game tempts a person to buy it for the soundtrack alone, that gives it a pretty good standing to win best score and best music for a game. And as much as I love Smash, I don't know, that's also some pretty stiff competition in terms of Game of the Year. I hope they win. And like you guys said, too, Link's Awakening looks beautiful. I think it stands a pretty good chance of getting the art direction, because it's such a cool game. Even though it's an old game, they made it so fresh and so new, and it's a cool art design, I think, behind that game. So
if there's one real sign that Nintendo should look into that Switch too, we were talking about before, is if you look at the Game of the Year nominations, only one is a Nintendo title, and all the other ones are multi-platform except for, I think, Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. So if that were the case, all of those titles minus Death Stranding would be on the Switch. And you know how they do like all those like sales, like, oh, this is a Game of the Year nomination. They could literally be like, hey, look, all but one of the Game of Year nominations are on our platform. That's a selling point.
Totally.
Sony can do it, but Nintendo certainly can't.
Yeah, totally. So let's switch gears and talk about let's go to speculation town a little bit and what are we hoping to see from Nintendo, because they've used the Game Awards to make some big announcements in the past years. So what do you think they're actually going to see? And unfortunately Reggie won't probably be making an appearance this year, but
are you sure?
he may show up. I mean, it's up to him now, and he's got a pretty good relationship with Jeff Keighley, so he may still show up, but he might not. But Nintendo is most likely going to be there, still have a big presence, even if Reggie doesn't take the stage. Maybe it's Bowser, maybe it's someone else. But what is Nintendo going to show off this year? Greg, do you have any ideas or any hopes and desires to what you're going to see?
Well, as far as hopes was, I was hoping for more Mario Maker 2 content, but we kind of got blessed with that with our other topic. That was originally what I would want to say to that. So now I'm thinking it might be more Animal Crossing related to kind of get that kickstart into forefront of people's minds, saying like, hey, this is coming out in March, and here's like a cool new feature that we have in the game. I don't really play Animal Crossing, so that obviously doesn't really excite me as much as it would others, but that's kind of almost something I would expect to kind of see as like a big reveal type of thing. If not, I mean, maybe it could be the first trailer or another new trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, or even Metroid Prime 4. I mean, I don't know. You can really dream big with these kind of like couple seconds of time to reveal something. So I feel like the safe bet is more like Animal Crossing, and more extreme would be like Metroid Prime 4 or the Wild or something. But I don't know. I doubt that they would use the Game Awards for one of those titles. It's probably still not until like 2021. So
just imagine world premiere, and then all of a sudden Metroid Prime 4. Oh, how many people would go crazy in that moment? Man. Barry, what do you think you're gonna see?
Well, first off, I'm gonna disagree with Greg's whole. I don't think we're gonna see something shown off at the Game Awards that's not gonna come out for a while, because Bayonetta 3.
That's what we're gonna see this year.
if you look historically at what they show off either one of three things. They show off adult-oriented properties, such as Bayonetta. They show off content updates like Breath of the Wild Pack 2 and Joker for Smash Brothers, or they show off a revival of an old franchise that people didn't see coming out of left field, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. So I think we're going to get all three of those things this year. I think we're going to get the update in terms of the final Smash character. I think it's a shoo-in. They said by February, unless they do it at the January Direct. I think this is a stage. They did Joker last year. Why not bookend it with the final one showing off here? They can do some kind of big crazy reveal for it. I think we're going to see definitely adult-oriented properties, Metroid Prime 4, maybe the rumored Metroid Prime trilogy that was supposed to be revealed last Game Awards that never came to fruition as a possibility. And I do think we're going to see Nintendo bringing back a long dormant or a more dormant franchise, whether that be a Nintendo IP or it very well could be
Mother 3.
Like it could. Well, Mother 3 already exists. Mother 4 would be more like it. But it could be.
What if they did that?
Oh, Mother 4. But first, we're here for the Mother trilogy kind of deal. But maybe something in the veins of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It could be something completely out of left field like that, and I hope it is, because I think those are the ones that get people talking. Yeah. Breath of the Wild 2 new trailer seems likely as well, considering again they did the challenge pack at 2017's, and there was a big number with that. Another reason I think Smash is a shoo-in is, if you remember, they did Breath of the Wild 2, and Breath of the Wild was up for Game of the Year and won. Smash is up for Game of the Year. There's going to be some Smash content. It's up for Game of the Year. And maybe even the first character. Could you imagine they show off the last third-party character, and everyone's going crazy, and suddenly they're like tapped on the shoulder, and they turn around, and there's like Rex and Pyra as the first character, because we know Sakurai wanted to put them there. He specifically stated they ran out of time, or maybe even showing the cast of the next characters, and they're like Nintendo characters, and he's just like that character is confronted by this whole new cast, and they like charge into each other and end on a fight. Like the crowd would go crazy, like holy crap, like none of those characters are in the game yet. Like that, the speculation, or maybe not even show the characters, but make them just the shadows, and make them shadows that we could identify their new characters, and like what is going on here. Like the sky's the limit. Of course, this is all speculation. This is all come true, or none of it can come true. But if that came true and all that came true, I would be beyond happy.
Yeah. Hassan just totally he stole my thought right out of my head. But he said you see a 4 and then an M. Or I was thinking actually the M and the 4 come up at the same time, and you think it's Metroid Prime 4, but then all of a sudden it's Mother 4. People would totally go nuts, and it'd totally be like Nintendo to like troll us and surprise us at the same time, where we're like, I don't know how to think, what to feel about you right now, because I'm both frustrated and excited at the same exact time.
Now, would they do that though, or would they pull what they did with Bayonetta, where they show a Mother trilogy? Because remember, they showed off Bayonetta 1 and 2, and everyone's going crazy, and they're like, but you didn't think we were just here to show off ports of other games, and do the same thing. Oh, well, if you're here, we're just to ports other games, you're wrong, and then do a Mother 4 trailer in the same vein they did with Bayonetta.
Could be. Yeah. I think a Smash character reveal is a no-brainer. I think they'd be, if they have the footage, which I think they should, of Breath of the Wild 2. I think that's a no-brainer. That's an audience that they can capture as well. I'm back and forth about Animal Crossing. I think it could be good, but also I think, would they play that to that audience? I'm not really sure. So I think they could show it, but I think they could also save that for a January Direct as well. But yeah, I really hope they do something like Metroid. Like, man, that'd be great. Like, people would go crazy. Or even if they did something with Mother or another like big franchise like that, I would love it as well. And yeah, I hope we see 3 big things as well. I think they definitely have the time for it, and they have the properties to make it 3 big announcements, and that'd be really cool. And I think stuff like that just makes it's cool that Nintendo has that kind of a presence, that it can create that kind of excitement at the Game Awards with stuff like that.
How about a trailer that starts with, from the newest studio, part of the Nintendo family, and they show off an Astral Chain 2 trailer from Platinum as a way of announcing they have actually bought Platinum.
That could be interesting. Or they show us what Retro's been working on for a long time.
Oh, no, if they do that, then my E3 prediction streak will have to go away. My prediction and failure.
Oh, man. Hassan, he's hoping that he sees more Animal Crossing, but he doesn't think it'd be received well there. So
no, it's not the...
Yeah.
It's more about hype and action and, shooting stuff and killing stuff and explosions. It's like a Michael Bay presentation.
Basically, yeah. All right. Well, let's finally move to our, an hour and 30 minutes into the show. We'll finally move to our lead story. And that is the thing that, like Greg, I also thought we would be getting some Super Mario Maker info at the Game Awards. But nope, they decided to just drop it out of the blue. And so, just a couple days ago, we found out that we're getting update 2. 2.0 on Super Mario Maker 2, and has several new updates. We're going to get the dash block in Super Mario 3D World style, and that basically allows Mario just to have a major speed burst as he's running through, so you could even line a bunch of these up and just keep speeding through, like super fast speed run through some courses. We also get the frozen coin, so they're basically a coin surrounded by a bunch of ice, and they can only be released by fire or something like that, like an angry sun or something like that. we're getting the P block. So the P switch and the P block are going to be there and temporarily turn these like invisible ones into regular platforms, hard platforms that you can jump on and stuff like that. We're getting Spike, the enemy that coughs up the spike balls and throws them at you. And if he actually use them in a snow environment, he's going to toss snowballs instead of spikes. And then we're also getting Pokey, like the cactus character, cactus enemy, and he's going to be joining Super Mario Maker 2. And I believe if it's used in a certain level, you can actually like flies around or something like that instead of nighttime. Okay, so and you can edit the height of Pokey as well, so you can have a short one or you can have a really tall one as well. And they're also having Ninja Speedruns mode, so Nintendo is going to be dropping these courses that they've made on there, and basically it's going to be a competition mode for people who want to do speedruns through these courses, and you can compete against all these other ghosts and these ninja ghosts. So when you play it, you'll see these ghosts of other ninjas like jumping through the level, somewhat similar to Super Mario Run in a way, not exactly, but somewhat similar to that. And you can compete for the highest or the fastest time in those. And then we got the big reveal that Link is coming to Super Mario Maker, and it's weird because all the costumes from Super Mario Maker 1 had gone away, and you couldn't use the amiibo to bring in all these characters and stuff. That was kind of one of the cool things about Super Mario Maker 1, and then all of a sudden now they're bringing the Master Sword as an item that you can use to turn into Link. And not only do you just put on Link's clothes as Mario, you actually are able to use his sword, shoot arrows from a bow and arrow, throw bombs, like do down thrusts, do a shield. So it basically becomes like a 2D side-scrolling Zelda game. So what do you guys think about this update? Greg, let's go to you first because I know you're the biggest Super Mario Maker fan of the three of us. So were you surprised about all this, and what are your thoughts about all of them?
Well, yeah, it definitely caught me off guard, like a surprise. Like I was following there's like a Mario Maker Discord that I'm also a part of, and like they were like, "Oh, new parts." I was like, "Wait, what?" I found our video and like watched it, and I was like, "Wow, that's very incredible that they're adding all these parts." And it just reminded me like when they added the parts into the Wii U version of the game. It was like that's where they added the key and the red coins and stuff, and that just adds a lot more creativity to the level design. One of the biggest complaints with like the removal of that amiibo mushroom was that the Mario 1 style kind of gone more like plain and stagnant. So I don't think it was probably being used because a lot of people had fun making Zelda levels and giving you the Link amiibo mushroom just to have you like look like Link as you go through the entire level, or make like a Pokemon themed level and you could be Pikachu or whatever. That was kind of like the main point of the original Mario Brothers style, outside of recreating 1-1 for like the 100th time. So
right,
it definitely adds a lot of new dynamics into like the first style, that you can actually be Link, and then you can design like an actual like puzzle dungeon that like you have to use like bombs or arrows or your sword, and like do different types of things that you probably couldn't do as Mario. So that just opens the door to make more type of unique levels and even more Zelda levels in general. So I know that's always been like a big ask as a Zelda maker, and now you can kind of play around with Mario Maker as Link. So that's definitely a very cool item that they added. But that's cool. All the other course parts are very great. Looking forward to playing around with all the different tools and seeing what kind of cool creations you can come up with.
Yeah, for sure. Barry, what do you think about this update?
I think it's all good. It's nice to see, some of these characters coming back. Spike, who's just more of a recent character, but Pokey, I mean, that's a Mario 2 original. As in the Doki Doki Panic Mario 2. So it's really cool to see that. Is it a hint that maybe we're going to get a Mario 2 style? That would have been really amazing to see announced. I'm happy with the Master Sword, of course, as a Zelda fan. I do kind of feel it's weird that they're using the Zelda 1 sprite for being side scroller as opposed to the Zelda 2 sprite, which is already
But no
an
one likes that
8-bit
game.
but it's already an
Yeah.
8-bit side scrolling Link with where the down thrust originated and everything like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's a little weird. What I want to know is this Super Mario 1 style only because it looked that way, or
They've already confirmed that it's just the Mario Maker 1 style.
See, that was the thing that was annoying because there's so much less you can do in Mario 1, and like Greg said, like it became stagnant in the sense of people were just making Mario 1 levels just to use the costumes, but there's so many more fun dynamics and pieces you can do in Mario 3, Mario World, New Super Mario Brothers, and even Mario 3D World, and it would be great to see that come into the other, you know, properties like Mario. Even if they want to do like Mario 3 as the Zelda 2 8-bit Link, and then Mario World be the Link to the Past Link to represent Super Nintendo, and Link Between Worlds for New Super Mario Brothers or something like that.
They could use the new Link's Awakening one in the 3D world.
And the 3D world can use the new Link's Awakening. Exactly. That would be so cool. Like, do that. That would be amazing. And it's not saying they can't do it. They just probably won't. But I still think it's great. It's more than just a costume. Link comes with his abilities. And who knows, is there going to be a screw attack item and you can turn into Samus and start shooting and rolling up into a ball and doing screw attacks when you jump. And that would be amazing. So where do they go from here?
Yeah.
It is kind of weird to see, it took so long for them to do a content update for this, I feel. I feel this would have been better to be announced prior to Black Friday to get more sales of more interest in Mario Maker 2 before the big shopping weekend. But Nintendo does things their own way. Yet we're still waiting for Super Mario Party DLC, and that's probably never coming at this point. True. But I'm happy about it. I think it's good. I'm happy for anybody who is big into the Mario Maker community that constantly plays. I think it's great. Will it get me to pop in the game again to go back? Possible, but it's really hard at this point because there's so many games I want to play, and there's again so little time. I might, but it's more of a slim for me.
Yeah. I wish I had more time to play Super Mario Maker for sure. I think all the stuff that we're seeing is cool. I'm mostly excited because I'm not a creator on Super Mario Maker, so I'm mostly excited to see what other people create and what I'll be playing when I do get the chance to boot it up. But I'm excited to play as Zelda as well. I think that it'd be fun. I'm excited to see what kind of levels. Or sorry, as Link, as Link in some Zelda themed levels. That I'm excited to see what people are able to create around that. Given the constraints of Super Mario Brothers and the original 8-bit stuff, I think there's some incredibly creative people out there, and I'm really excited to play those kind of levels. And it makes the game new again too because of Link's mechanics and how you can engage with the stages and the enemies and everything using his different abilities. I think that's cool, and I'm excited mostly about that. What would make me even more excited, and I'll play around with the Ninja speedruns, but I'm definitely not a speedrunner, especially like some of these things they'll put out. I'm sure they're gonna kill me more than I actually get through them. So I am a slow and not slow and steady, but somewhat medium paced Mario gamer. So I'm not a speedrunner, not whatsoever. But I'm slightly disappointed though that we haven't seen a new theme. Like I expected, I don't know, maybe I had my hopes up too high, but I saw Update 2 and I saw what's like they showed off, Master Sword's coming, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I actually expected to see a new theme. and we didn't get that. Like, why didn't we get the Super Mario Brothers 2 US? Like, why haven't we seen that theme yet? Why we have even an extra box at the bottom still that they could put another theme in there? Why have we not seen that
Odyssey.
yet? Yeah,
do a 2D Odyssey.
Totally.
Theme.
So, Greg, you're into this game all the time. Like, why haven't we seen another theme yet?
I don't know. I mean, I think the menu even has it as plural, like extra game styles, like with an S at the end, and there's just a single game in there. So a lot of people have been like, well, there's plenty of room down there. What's the other one?
Yeah.
So I don't know if like they're taking their time to release it, or if they still have to refine it, or maybe they decided they weren't going to release it after all. I don't know, but it would be definitely welcome to have another game style. I'm sure it's going to be another segmented one. I feel like they've already kind of killed the flow option with the 3D world type style, where you can't even transition the course over without it just deleting everything. So yeah.
Barry, you mentioned that you thought this update came a little later than you would have expected it to. So are we gonna have to wait that long again to maybe see a new theme in version 3?
Probably. I mean, the game came out. What was it? June 28th. June or July 28th, but I think it was June. It's been a while. It's been half a year since it came out, or 5 months to 6. And I think DLC needs to come in a more consistent pace to really keep momentum up. Unless it's something to the grand scheme of like Breath of the Wild Challenge Pack 2, which at least had Challenge Pack 1 before it, or like Torna, but they at least had DLC packs leading up to Torna. Something like that, like almost an expansion level kind of deal. That's cool. But like you look at Mario Tennis, that game was supported for over a year, I believe, with every month new updates, and there might still be some new updates, but I think the characters have stopped. You look at ARMS. ARMS was supported consistently for the first year. Splatoon 2 was consistently updated for like 2 years, and that came with an expansion in there as well, but it still had updates. That kept people playing those games. And while people are still playing those games now, it's teetered off because there's no new content. I think Mario Maker 2, if it was 3 months out, it would have been a little bit better, I think, in terms of keeping that attention. Granted, there's a huge community, and I'm aware of that. But for the casual goers, there are probably some people who have forgotten that Mario Maker 2 came out this year, just to be honest.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, probably like the two people I'm joined with.
No, I didn't forget it came out this year, but I had to think about it. It didn't like immediately pop to my mind that, oh yeah, Mario Maker 2 is this year.
Yeah. Which does, this kind of blurring our topics that we've been talking about tonight, but think about this very specifically. Like we've been talking about this a lot, how we really want Nintendo to compete and really beef up their system and have all these third parties. We already don't have enough time to play these games. Do we really want them to compete or not?
Yes.
No, it'd be good. But then, man, we're going to be all saying no time. Like we're all going to be nicknamed No Time at that point.
That's fine, because here's why. It's impossible to play every game, even if you have all the systems. I speak from experience. It's just impossible unless you play each game for 5 seconds. Like that one, was it Jimmy Fallon did a thing where he was like trying to set the Guinness World Record for playing like the most games in like a minute or something, and he literally like played it for like 5 seconds, less than 5 seconds, and moved on. They had like all the systems lined up. Like unless you're playing like that, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And I think Nintendo has done a better job with the Switch, hands down. The amount of games coming out from Nintendo is much better than with the Wii U. The amount of games coming out from third parties is much better than the Wii U. And consistently, the Switch is literally killing it in terms of releases every single week. In the physical realm, they're killing it with releases every week. The digital realm is only, much greater because there's a lot of digital-only titles at the moment. So with that stated, yes, I still think it would be better.
It's still
to
less
have
hardware to buy then. Yeah.
still less hardware to buy.
Yeah.
And you know what? With the portability of the Switch, you can at least play it everywhere.
It's true. But then you have a bigger library of games you're going to have to buy.
That is true, and I'm willing to take that sacrifice for the greater good.
You're going to have to build a bigger house.
No, at that point it would be I'm not going for a full set. That would be like, all right, I'm doing Switch 1, I'm not doing Switch 2, just the ones I want until like at the end of the day when it's like, oh yeah, $1 for it. Okay, I'll take it for $1.
Nice.
This is why you just don't even get the extra console, because you don't have time for it.
That's true.
Move on.
Yeah. So, Greg, what of the new items, like not counting Link, because that doesn't count, because I think he's like trumps everything. But of the new items that is not Link, what are you most excited about using in your next creation?
It would probably definitely be Spike, because it seems like he has like the most impact to like a level, so you can have him like trigger like question blocks, whether it's like on or off screen, and they can like do all sorts of like different types of like impact to your level, like generally change it a lot. So like I showed him with him on like the seesaw platform, like with the weight, and like obviously in the snow theme you can use like snowballs, so that kind of also kind of like adds a different mechanic into like the, especially like Mario 3, we could pick up the snowball and like throw it at switches or something. So
yeah.
I feel like that kind of can be built around a lot easier and more creatively.
Nice. I think I agree with that. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what people are using. I think the P blocks actually and the P switches and everything, it could be really interesting to kind of play those in there and kind of give stages a little different dynamic and everything too.
I don't know. I think people prefer the normal like coins turning to blocks and like the other way around, and also the blocks turning to coins, because then you guys can make it so if you collect those coins, then you might not be able to proceed or something. And
that's true. Yeah,
adds a more level of difficulty where those blocks are permanent and you can't like jump through them. And so
I like the in the trailer or the announcement video, the multiplayer one with the P switches though. Kind of like that's how you control with your friends. Like who gets to that P switch first, everybody else falls, and you're like, I'm moving on.
Yeah, there's definitely some great videos of like
That's right.
There's definitely some awesome videos of like competitive the Mario Maker side. So that's gonna be a fun troll item, no doubt. So.
Yeah. For sure. That launched. That's Thursday. Is that when it's coming out? December 5th.
Yeah, okay. The 5th.
Cool. So yeah. So stay tuned to NintendoFuse, and we'll be. I'm sure Greg will be posting some levels and everything. If you're not friends with him and you haven't been following him on Super Mario Maker, be sure to do that. I think I have created one level and that was it. I don't even know if I created one. But yeah, don't follow me. Follow Greg on there. He's the one that's creating everything. So. All right, well let's wrap up this long podcast with a couple closing stuff about games that are coming out over the next couple weeks, what we're excited about, and then we'll give you some information about our next podcast, which is our Game of the Year podcast. But let's talk about what we're hoping to play over the next couple weeks. Just some notable things. Actually, we're kind of waning down. We're actually there's not as much coming out in terms of like big games over the next few weeks, which is great because there's so many other games we have yet to play. Some of the big ones though coming out are Assassin's Creed, the Rebel Collection comes out on the 5th, and the next two editions of Shovel Knight, King of Cards and Showdown, are both coming out on December 10th. And I believe are those the last two for Shovel Knight? And then they've said they're going to be moving on to other properties and creating other games and stuff like that. So this is the last two DLCs for Shovel Knight. Right. So yeah, those are coming out. That's really the two that stood out to me over the next couple weeks. Or either of those games or any other games that you guys are excited about playing over the next couple weeks. Greg?
Well, I already have the that treasure trove pack from Shovel Knight, so I think I already will be getting those games for free. So perhaps I might have to check them out, but yeah, otherwise I'll probably be playing more of the Untitled Goose Game and seeing if I can I really need to get back into Dragon Quest XI. I hadn't played it since the last podcast. I really want to play it, and it's like just no time. And I only have one console. I don't know how you guys can manage multiple consoles.
Yeah, I haven't booted up my PS4 in a long time. Xbox every once in a while, but PS4, it's getting dust.
Yeah, I definitely want to continue more Dragon Quest XI. I was really interested, and very sad to say I didn't have any time over the last 2 weeks, so I hope to have some more in the coming weeks as we go into Christmas and hopefully extra time off and whatnot. So
cool.
Yep.
Cool. How about you, Barry?
Yeah, those two are definitely two on my radar. I've been waiting for Shovel Knight Treasure Trove to finally put out the final games, because that's when the physical will be released. Because they were waiting for everything, which is great, because I only played the original Shovel Knight and I played it on the 3DS, which is probably the worst way to play Shovel Knight with that circle pad.
That's what I played. Yeah.
It's like I can't wait to replay it with the Switch. I say that, but I probably won't get to it for a while, even though there's a lot of content there. And Assassin's Creed 4 and Rogue is one of those I didn't play. I wanted to play. I heard good things about, and maybe I'll get around to it. but I'm excited for it. I think that one's a Switch exclusive too, which is kind of nice to see from Ubisoft, even if it is just a port.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like with you guys, I'll be playing the Shovel Knight games and checking those out. I think I have the Treasure Trove or whatever, I think on like 3 different systems, but I'll probably be playing on the Switch. But I if I wanted to boot up my 3DS, I guess I could play it on there too. And then I probably won't be getting Assassin's Creed. I played 3 on Wii U and it was fun, but yeah, I think it's kind of getting, I don't know. I know 4 and these new games have kind of given it a new life, but I also kind of feel like it's not as cool as it once was. So I'll probably stay away from those. I'm excited to get more into Pokemon Sword as well. I got lost in the wild area and haven't progressed in the game at all. I just keep playing around in the wild area.
There's a lot to do.
There's so much. Fun. And I was like, why do I need a whole game? I'll just play around in the wild area from now on. So I need to get actually back to the real game and complete it and everything. But
when you complete it, you can definitely go back to the wild area and play around. There's more to the wild area too.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode, and we do want to let you guys know that our next episode will be on December 17th. That'll be our Game of the Year awards, where we'll get a chance to kind of just talk through our favorite games of the year. And so this year we're going to be giving, we kind of divided up a little bit differently than previous years because of just the different switching around with how Nintendo's been, focusing on the Switch only, and pretty much like the 3DS and the Wii U and everything, they're dead. And that they have a mobile categories and all this stuff. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing top 3 Nintendo Switch games. So that's going to be like Nintendo games. So like those are games that are made by Nintendo or like first or second party, basically. Top tier AAA kind of games. So not the cheaper ones. These are like the Zeldas and the Smash Brothers and things like that. And then we're going to have the top 3 third-party AAA Switch games. So those are ones, of course, made by third parties that are on there. And we're going to have top 3 indie games, kind of those games that don't fall into that AAA sort of category, but still deserve a notable mention. We will have a top 3 mobile and 3DS category. So we're like there are still some 3DS games that have come out, and so we're gonna put those together with mobile and kind of go over the top 3 mobile and 3DS games, and then we'll have our top 3 overall as usual. That kind of take those from all the calculations from everything. Come with our top 3 games overall, and I thought it'd be fun. We had some fun last year with throwing in a new category of the top 3 worst games, or the worst 3 games of the year. So let's have some fun with talking about the 3 games that we really did not like this year, and just have some fun with that. So but yeah, that's going to be on December 17th. We would love for you guys to tune in live and throw your thoughts about what your games of the year are into the chat. Interact with our picks. What do you disagree, agree with them? We'd love to see a lot of you guys there for our live show on the 17th. And then we're going to take a couple week break because of all the holidays coming up with Christmas and New Year's and Hanukkah and all the other holidays that fit within that like 2 to 3 week part of the year. And then we're going to be back on January, I'm going to get this wrong. Is it January 7th?
I think it's the 7th.
I think it's 7th, January 7th. The first Tuesday, basically, in January, we will be, well, not the first Tuesday, because that's January 1st. But we'll be back on that Tuesday. And
no, that's the first Tuesday.
It's the first Tuesday, because that's Wednesday.
31st
okay, so yeah.
is Tuesday.
So the first Tuesday in January of 2020. That's crazy to think that 2020 is just around the corner. And we'll be talking about predictions then, like what we hope to see for 2020, and kind of maybe diving into a little more Speculation Town. I know Ryan said he's a big fan of Speculation Town, so we'll be totally going in there on the first show of 2020. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell here on YouTube, be alerted every time we post a new video. And yeah, I think I think some of you guys may be asking the question, because people are doing it all across YouTube. What does this COPA thing or COPPA thing have to do with NintendoFuse? Is this going to affect us? I don't think it will, especially because we're not actually a monetized site right now. So we probably won't be affected by it in any way. But yeah, we're going to keep posting our podcast here and everything, and you can of course subscribe to it on your podcast apps. If you prefer the audio version, you don't like looking at us, you can just hear us if you want to, and you can do all that and everything. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Greg and Barry, for being here with me once again for the NintendoFuse podcast.
Always a pleasure.
Yep, always love being on it.
And thanks to all you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
See you later.